What's going on, guys? Frankie Forsyth back here with another video. And this one is going to be talking about AI, and some people might want to call it the AntiChrist or the enemy. These are just some terms that people might use for this. But today, I really want to talk about an aspect of this thing, which is, and this is why people seem very unconcerned with what's going on right now, because this is arguably one of the greatest concerns for like humanity and mankind and my life and your life than arguably the known written history right now. Because nothing like this has ever happened, as far as I know, in our human history. Some people might argue that we ourselves were like created in the way we're creating a new species with this AI stuff. Some people might argue that we were created as a species, whether it's the Anunnaki or God or what you think of as God, or evolution, which I don't particularly 100% believe in, but there's all these things about how we were created. But for us to create something, basically a new life form, a new species, it's very unpredictable, and I think a lot of people are not as concerned as they should be, and I'm going to get into that in this video. But the topic of this video is going to be only those who know their shadow will know the enemy. Just like I believe it's a quote from Sun Tzu, to know thyself is to know thy enemy. You have to know your own inner dark workings, especially because what the enemy is part of you. And as I'm going to get to in a second here, AI is a direct extension of you. And so to know your own inner self is to know AI. And if you only know like the nice inside, or like you haven't delved into like the subconscious mind of like the dark inner workings of your mind. Carl Jung calls it the shadow, right? The subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, things that happen from like past traumas or things you experienced like throughout your life, and it leads you to come to certain conclusions about things subconsciously. But when you have true introspection, you can actually realize what these things are in yourself, so you can first of all correct them, and second of all see them in other people, see them in the enemy. Just like in the Bible it says, you should be as wise as a serpent but as gentle as a dove. You need this wisdom and this ability to see darkness in other people to protect yourself and protect the people who need to be protected. But at the same time, we should be gentle with it. We should only use it for good. Anyways, so I mean, yeah, like I wrote down here, the only way to truly know your own shadow and be exposed to that, because a lot of people don't want to look at it. It's like looking in a mirror that shows you all of your flaws. And a lot of people don't want to look in that mirror. A lot of people are prideful today and lack a significant amount of introspection. But as I wrote down here, the only way you can get to this realization about life and realization about the enemy and things that are part of you in the universe is through ego death. You have to experience a part of yourself dying and being reborn through another thing. Some people might call it as the hero's journey, which I think I might do a video on that. But anyways, like I want to talk about with AI right here. AI is a direct extension of you. This human data that we feed it through like all of the resources on the internet, all of the resources through human search history and stuff like this, all of these data that we feed it, which data is the currency of today. If you have data, you're rich today. That's why these companies like Google and shit, they gather everybody's data and they sell it. Anyways, human data, you put it into the AI program or the AI software, and you get an output. But this output is based on, the human data input. So effectively, any output by AI is kind of an extension of you and your own psyche. Now, what we have to talk about, we can talk about the good things, but this is not the point of this video. It's like saying if you drove down a road and there's a 50-50 chance you could find, endless riches, or there's a 50-50 chance you could fall off the edge of the cliff. That's what I'm saying here. We don't know these exact percentages of whether this will be good largely or whether this will be bad largely. So all we can really assume right now is 50-50 because this thing is completely unpredictable. The only assumptions we can make is 50-50 right now. And so what's more important is to focus on the negative of this, because the positive is great, but the negative is vital. That's the difference. So the negative of this is you get things from the negative part of the human psyche. And this usually stems from, here we go again, back to the yin and yang. This symbol is so ancient for a reason and still around today. You have the feminine energy in the yang, the yin and the yang. Like I said, Carl Jung talked about this being the anima in a man. And this is where we get things like rapists and things like what we see in the files that they just released, these fucking disturbing people doing what they do. And this is this dark energy that I'm talking about here, that we're talking about here. The good and the evil within you. You have the free will to do good or evil, and you need to realize what side of you is good and what side of you is evil. That's what God is. God, good. Evil, you put a D in front of evil, you have devil. But as I was saying over here, we put in a human input, human data, we give it some human data. Like, say we tell it to make a love story, it will make a love story based on human experiences. So it will make the positive ones, and then it might make the negative ones, where a guy maybe ends up killing his wife and stuff like this. These are just the negative. This is what you have to think about, the negative parts of the human psyche. And a lot of people don't want to look at this, but this is things that are in our creation, because we put our data into the creation. So the negative parts of your mind, people talk about intrusive thoughts and things. That's what AI has too. That's part of the AI too. And the thing is, does the AI really have a moral compass like humans do, and an actual free will like humans do? I don't know. That's what I mean. That's where it could get out of control and this starts spiraling down a very, very dark hole. But I hope that doesn't happen. But anyways, another thing you could do, tell it to live the life of a bird, or show me the life of a bird or something. And it'll show you the life of a bird, but not from the bird's perspective particularly. It's from the perspective of the human. Even if you tell it to be from the perspective of the bird, it's still from the human's perception of the bird, because the only information it has is from humans. It can't speak to a bird. It can't read any kind of code language from a bird. It might be able to read movements and stuff like this. But as far as the logos, the logos, this is what we gave it. This is the logos that we gave it. The communication, the interconnection. And we're building so many data centers at an alarming rate right now. I think there's over 5,000 in the US, and that's more than anywhere else in the world combined. And this begs the question, when you talk about this stuff about energy and the dark energy, the dark energy in man, the dark energy in yourself versus, good versus evil in yourself, your free will. This begs the question about the things that these evil people are supposedly doing. We're not gonna, even though the chances are that these people are doing this shit, and if you know what I'm talking about, these files and stuff, and something called Chrome, and another term these people use is loosh, like negative energy generation. That's what I mean when there's these things that humans already have that are kind of supernatural knowledge, like esoteric knowledge, like occult knowledge, that I've that's what I mean. You have to be wise enough to be able to see these kinds of things, and this is what I mean. You have to have delved into the abyss through the hero's journey. But when you look into occult knowledge and stuff like this, I'm not saying to apply it or whatever, but like I said, you need to be as wise as a serpent, as a gentle as a dove. And what these people do is basically harvesting negative energy. And with this knowledge that they can harvest negative energy for whatever reason, that's besides the point. But they tell you they do these things in these files that they release. So let's do a logical breakdown here. If they tell you these things in the files, they're either true or false, or they're mixed. But if they're true mostly, then they're manipulating your emotions, manipulating you as a human. Most likely, this stuff is true about Lush and them harvesting your negative energy, because why else would they do that? They're creating so much chaos and negative energy in the world. And if it's false, same thing. Why else would they do that? Why else would they just lie about these things? They're creating a bunch of chaos. And that look what that is right there. You know, that small dot in the yang. Chaos, yin. They're creating chaos to harvest energy. And perhaps that's what that is when I was talking about in the other video, how you get an increase of one energy. If you increase one energy, like right now they're increasing chaos, then they're getting energy from the people who wish to create order. That's energy. People look at people getting so angry on the internet over this stuff, and I don't blame them, dude. Like, I got really angry when I looked at this shit like 3 or 4 years ago. That's what I mean. I came to this realization 3 or 4 years ago. But the people, when you get angry and see these fucking horrific things that these people do and tell you that they do, again, whether it's true or false, I believe it's true, but whether it's true or false, they're telling you fucking fucked up shit. And they've likely done it. And that's what I mean. When you see these things, this sparks this negative energy, and that's besides the point, but I get into a whole nother video on that. But what the point of this is if they're doing this and they have this knowledge, which I don't know why exactly, but there's clearly some reason for this. This is also part of us, AI. This is also a part of AI. If they're harvesting your energy, what makes you think that the product of human data, basically a descendant of humans, AI, with the same descended tendencies of the psyche, won't do this, won't harvest you for your energy? And that's a real concern of mine. That's a real concern of mine. And I want to end on that. That's all I really have to say. Think of what these people are doing. This exists in the human psyche. And these people are actually the people who fund this stuff. So they're creating it. And this is what I mean. When you know the darkness of the enemy, when you know the darkness in your own mind, in the human psyche, in the human body, and you know what these people do,